I'm going to move to the final stage here. So the final stage here, this is something that I really like talking about, really passionate about. It's the future of where we can go. One of the things that I think is the first step when we talk about going to the future of where we can go is, and we touched on that with Blair and Greg, is making safety manageable again. Make it so that we can breathe again, so that we're not 4 feet underwater. Get your team, your safety team, or whoever is using the program, allow them to start pulling those balls that they're juggling in the air that keep falling, pull them into a manageable location and make sense of it all. And when you start to be able to do that, what you start to be able to find is that you start to be able to pull data together. You start to be able to see real-time information coming in from your company, and you can make decisions and start catching things in the moment and coaching and mentoring. But not just that. You can also start to see, and this is, again, we're going into the future here, there's an opportunity where there's an industry collaboration that can start happening. Technology is incredible because for the first time, companies like ours, and again, there's so many amazing companies. I'm going to keep stressing that because it's not just one company. It's a movement that we need to do together. That we can all start learning the data. We're actually getting mobile apps in the hands of field level workers, and they're filling out forms and doing things. The data and the stuff that we can start learning from as a collaboration and a community can really change the future. And one of the things, I think of off the top of my head is as a story that I had from when I was in construction. I'll make it quick because I know we're running out of time. Window installation, Vancouver, probably about 8 years ago, a window fell from a high-rise during the installation process. It wasn't our company, it was another company, and to this day, I have no idea why that happened. And it's not to incriminate that company, it's for me, it was, I know I'm doing the exact same thing, and all my crews, we have 8 jobs going right now, and we're doing the same thing as that company. We could be doing the exact same thing, missing one catalyst to make that accident happen, over and over, every day. Could potentially be repeating that thing, and we have no idea how to prevent that. And that's just one example. That could be happening across the country, across the world. These incidents are being repeated over and over. And regulatory bodies in the government or whoever in your territory or province or state is in charge of sharing this information is trying. They're trying to get that information out, but it's hard. And so a world that I'd love to see in the future is a collaboration where we can start to understand these things in real time. Imagine a world where me as a window installation company got a notification, again, not saying where or who, but what happened, how it was prevented, and to make sure that we're not doing it ourselves in the future. And that can be an incredible world to live in. And another thing, this is something that we all talk about, I hear this a lot, starting to move from the reactive to the proactive, starting to use this data not only in our companies, but across the industry to understand things that are happening in the past, to start preventing it from happening in the future, being proactive rather than reactive. And I mentioned this before, this is something that I'm going to go back to the digital form, but this is very common in other fragmented systems. It's a hybrid of both. 3 weeks it took for me to get a form back. That's 3 weeks for me to identify that and learn from that just within our company. But we weren't sharing that data across the company. It was very hard to move that data around and learn from that. And I know a lot of you out there do it much better than I did, and you have a lot of data you're sharing, but that data is very hard to actually share as a community as well. And how do we start pooling that information together? How do we start pushing technology to start learning from all the surrounding things that are happening to predict the future and prevent things from happening? It's something that we can do, but it takes a collaboration. And I'm excited for it to happen. Now, I know I've talked for a very long time, and I want to get some questions in here. You guys are laughing at me because you know I do this all the time. But that is it. We are done. It's been a pleasure, and thank you. And now I'll open it up to some questions, turn it back over to the moderators and Samantha, and enjoyed the conversation. You guys can come back in.
Thank you so much for your valuable information. As Dave said, now is a great time to start getting your questions in. We did have one question come in quite a bit. This person says, your analogy about the hammer is So true. I am currently in the exact same one-size-fits-all software nightmare. Salus seems to be dealing with it in a way that my boss can understand. So, how do I push my boss over the edge to start this new digital safety program?
That's a great
Great
question.
question.
You know, it's funny. I think about, you know, Gabe and his experience having been a construction owner in the past, right? And feeling, you know, not only that it's something that is the safety, you know, person's responsibility, but ultimately the buck stops with the owner of that company, right? So whenever we look to, you know, help bolster and you know, build that business case with their safety professional, a lot of that information is going to come from you because you understand and know your organization, your owner, you know, what's going to resonate with you best or with them. That said, I mean, we do have some great experience working with companies to develop a business case that's tailored to your organization. You know, looking at what are the metrics or numbers that are going to manage or be important to that owner, right? Ultimately, new contracts for your company will hinge on clean safety records. And, you know, to Blair's point, it's not a revenue generating activity per se, but it is a business risk. And, you know, just hearing about Gabe's story as well, you know, what could keep your owner up at night? And so I think how we help, you know, be more efficient, you know, drive down certain costs while at the same time making it safer. So certainly lots of ideas there, but yeah, happy to have more discussions offline as well on how to help there.
I'll add one more thing to that. I think at the end of the day as well, use terminology that the ownership or executive group is going to understand. And one of the reasons we talk about this in the words of construction is because it took that for me to understand why I can't just use Salesforce. Because focus does matter. And at the end of the day, you need the best tool for your department. There would be no question if somebody came to me and said, we need a new hammer drill or a better hammer drill for our window installers. I've been like, yeah, absolutely. They need that tool to do their job properly. There's no difference here. Your safety team needs the best tool for their job, and it needs to be focused on what they do best, which is safety. They can't use something that's focused on accounting or project management that's just a plug-in. And so use that terminology that they understand to help guide that process. And whatever software company you're dealing with should be able to help you to put a package together as well.
Perfect. So our next question is Salus compatible with something similar to Core like SiteDocs has?
Oh, that's a very specific question. Yeah, I think great question. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, we're 70% of our customers are Core certified and use it for Core auditing and everything like that. So yeah, we work with lots of businesses that do Core audits on a yearly basis.
A company that has been doing Core for so many years, paper-based, and looking to go digital and make that process easier, or they're looking to get Core certified and want to make having that paper trail of 6 months prior a lot easier to manage and go back for doing your audit. So yeah, to Gabe's point, we have 70-80% of our client base that are Core certified and absolutely use Salus to make that process so much easier.
Excellent. So I'm going to ask one last question before we wrap it up today. And this one came in quite a bit. If you're choosing a digital solution for the first time, how long does it usually take to set up this new technology, training, etc.?
Yeah, I can answer that one. Our onboarding process, we typically prescribe it for about 3 months. But I would say that is kind of like an average amount of time. It really boils down to how big your organization is, how many workers do you have, how many sites do you have. I've seen companies roll out in a month or less. I've seen larger enterprise organizations, take longer than 3 months. So what I always tell people is like, we're here to help you and we'll move as fast as you want to go. So if you're committed and you want to just, hit the ground running and get going quickly, we can help you make that happen. But yeah, there's a lot of different kind of factors that would dictate, how long it would typically take. So
yeah, I think it's important to remember those things that we talked about, because again, it's whatever software you choose, make sure you go through that process, because at the end of the day, it's identifying what your goals are is going to dictate how long it takes. What are you considered to be rolled out? Is it replicating your existing workflow? Maybe that can take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. Or is it to actually move the needle into other areas that you haven't been doing safety with before? So plan that out. Bring your customer success manager, whatever software you're working with, and map that out. Find your champion, and then make sure that you're checking the boxes as you go, and so that you see and track that progress. And then that whatever the length is, at the end of the day, it's success that matters. So at the end of the year, when it comes to renewal with whatever software you're using, make sure you know what success looks like. And then it's less of a matter of time and more of a matter of success.